One of the stories that stayed with me since I was a little kid is from my grandma, who, again, she takes a lot of coaxing to tell the story. She's not comfortable talking about it. Is a house that she grew up in when she was a little kid, and she's got two sisters. She was the oldest, and she's got an older brother. And they were raised in this house. It was 3 stories, and it was opposite a church. And the church was a monastery at a time, but the house that they lived in was very basic. You know, they weren't particularly well off. And she had a bedroom on the very top floor of the house. And she'd go to bed every night, and there was 3 flights of stairs, and you'd get to the top of the second flight, and without doubt the candle would blow out every time. So they'd be shielding it, they'd put glasses round it, they'd try all these different ways, and every single time it would get blown out, and they used to literally sprint up the last bit of the stairs. And her bedroom, where she slept alone, it was a very big house, so there was a big family, they all had separate rooms, and she slept up there, and every time she went to bed, she'd be laying in bed, and just as she was drifting off to sleep, she'd feel the covers pull back from her face. And as she did that, she'd find a woman would be staring into her face, and then would recover her and just move away, and it never became any more than that. But it was, I mean, that was just one aspect of the house. On one of the parlour stairs there was the shadow, so if you glanced at it, you'd always think there was somebody coming around the stairs, but there never was. I think the most interesting part of the house that she described when she was very tiny was they had a partition wall, and the top half of the wall was frosted glass, the bottom half was wood, so it had obviously been put there fairly recently. It wasn't part of the original structure of the house. And the sofa used to sit opposite this wall, and every time you sat on the sofa, you'd glance up, and through the frosted glass you'd see this dark black shape would do that. And they grew up with this when they were little kids. They never thought anything of it, so they used to play this game where they'd run in and all pile onto the sofa and look straight at the glass and see if they could see what it was that went. But they never actually saw it. It was always just the last dip as it went. And none of these stories came out until they were a lot older, at a funeral. And I think they'd had a couple of glasses of wine, and they started talking about the house when they were kids. And they started saying, "Do you remember this?" and recounting the stories to each other, and all this stuff came out. As they moved out, when they were a lot older and they were getting married off and stuff, and the house got sold, and some builders, because my granddad was in the plumbing trade, he was a plumber's merchant, so he spoke to a lot of builders and a lot of plumbers, and there were a lot of people working on the house as it was being renovated, and the back of the house was being knocked down, and the other side of this partition wall, where the house was being demolished, they found an enormous hole in the floor, like massive, and stairs, and the stairs went down and under the street and came up in the church across the road. So they think, the theory is that they may have seen one of the old monks going down into the monastery, and he was going down one of the secret passages from a safe house.